Booktube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it is time for an update. So, I'm off today. I would have filmed last night, but then, I actually wanted to finish, where did I put it? I wanted to finish, where is it? I'm trying to find, finish this book, Clearing of Jade, which I did. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads, or might have, actually no, I think I changed it to 4. I didn't know what I wanted to give it, if I wanted to give it 4 or 5 stars, because I enjoyed it, and just because you give a book 4 stars doesn't mean you don't enjoy it. And I feel like the star system is very objective. I think that's the right word. I meant to look that up again. I have to keep reminding myself the difference between objective and subjective. And I think the word I'm looking for is objective. But basically everybody's opinion is different, and how people define their star rating is very different. And there's no half star ratings. I mean, that's one of the complaints people have for Goodreads, is that they don't have a half system rating. And if they did, I would probably give it a 4.5 stars. Although there's nothing bad about this book, I liked it. Like, I remember watching Sam from Thoughts of Home. She had talked about this book, and she said it wasn't her favorite because most of the book takes place on a ship. And I was thinking, do I feel that way? Do I agree with her or not agree with her? And like I said, I think I made a video about this like a while ago. I don't know if I made it last year or a couple years ago, where I talked about how BookTube does kind of have an influence over me. So, and it can't be helped. But, so I basically asking myself, do I like that? Do I have a problem? And I didn't have a problem with it. I liked it. I thought it was really cool. And mostly I was distracted anyway by the drama between Temeraire and Lawrence, and then worried about the Chinese prince manipulating Temeraire into wanting to be part of China and living in China, because there were a lot he learns when they finally do get there, that there are a lot of, like, dragons are treated a lot better in China. They have a lot more freedom, and there's a lot of benefits for Temeraire. And then, of course, there are some other ways that he bribes him. He tries to persuade him. But, so I was more distracted by, that drama. And then there were some other things, like the descriptions of all the food was really great. So, I'm not going to talk about this too much. I'm not going to talk about this anymore, because I'm going to do a review of this one. I actually need to do a review of Pet Sematary, which I also finished. Yeah, I'm not going to get that one because then I have to go all the way. I have to go to the other side of my room. And that's not that far, but I don't want to waste time, so. And that one was good too. I'm going to film a review on that one, as an update to my Stephen King project. So anyway, today I decided to go, since this is my first day off, and my only day off for a while, because next week I'm going to be working up until the day we leave, because we're going to go to Virginia. So I'm kind of getting a little bit of vacation. But then, right after that, we're actually going to Florida, because my grandma has a timeshare there. And I was very nervous. I was worried they wouldn't give me that, because the September trip to my sister's and then the trip to Florida are very close together. But there is time in between where they can schedule me to work. So I think that's probably why they were letting me go. And, I like to think also that I'm a good employee, so they trust me. But I do believe there is a limit. Like, if you can't be off from work for 3 weeks straight, because then the system will kick you out and essentially you'll be fired. That's what happened to one of my younger co-workers. She had gotten sick, and with getting sick, you can't control it. You can't help if you get sick and how long you're going to be sick. But I guess if you're functioning enough and you're not contagious, then you can go to work. I guess that's what people think, that's what people own businesses and companies and stuff. They're thinking, well, if you can function and you're not so sick that you can make other people sick, and you're not too gross looking, then yeah, you can go to work. Which that happened to me last year actually. I mean, I wasn't out for 3 weeks. I think I was only out for a week. That I got really sick, and for a while we thought I had pink eye, and I was like, it started out as a cold, and then just I was really crappy and looked horrible, and so so I had to call out sick, and like I said, I think it was a week. Hopefully that won't happen again. Which, although a small part of me, not that I want to get sick, but a part of me is kind of like having that time off, you know, because I mean we're only human. I think deep down, most of us, not just the people that are lazy and don't want to work and just spend their time just but also the people that I think everybody wishes they didn't have. I think deep down, a lot of us wish we didn't have to work. I mean, there are people that love their jobs or just love the idea of working because, whether it's because they're being productive, or they just are so bored and there's nothing to do in their own home that it's like at least going to work is something to do. In fact, a coworker of mine had suggested that when I first started working there, I was talking about, because unfortunately I do make the mistake of talking and saying whatever comes to mind. And sometimes I probably talk too much and say things, and occasionally complain that, how this is not the most thrilling job in the world. But I always tell my coworkers, I need to stop. I feel like I don't have to tell them, but I always end up telling them that the reason why this job, is great is because of them. And the customer service the customers are mostly nice people. Occasionally I've gotten a few weirdos or annoying people that make me uncomfortable, but mostly it's been good. But she's talking and, I said, yeah, sometimes at least it's something to do. And I guess I think I mentioned, sometimes I do get bored. And she was like, well then or I was feeling guilty if it turns out they weren't scheduling me, and then I was feeling guilty for oh, maybe I'm supposed to be going in, and maybe I misread it or something. Because I feel weird when I get the freedom, and this is a very sporadic schedule. So in the beginning, I was feeling weird on my days off, and I'm thinking, am I supposed to be at work? And she was saying, well, then just come in, ask if you can come in. I was like, no, I'm not that desperate. I like my days off. If they call me and ask me to come in, then yeah, I will. But there were days in the beginning that I did offer to come in because I was being, I need the money. But anyway, but today I am but it's only, it's only fair that they're having me work most of next week up until the day we leave. And then I imagine they'll do the same before the 6th. I imagine right, October 1st through the 5th, I'll probably be working. Which is okay, which is only fair. So on my one day off, I decided to head to the bookstore to have something to do, and it's just, there's not a lot to do around here. I end up being stuck in the house, and I may as well not even dress up. I may as well just throw on a t-shirt and jeans, but I like my clothes. My closet will never get worn unless unless we go out or something, or when we go out of town to stay with family. So today, and the only thing to do around here, unless I run errands with my parents, or we decide to go out to eat, so I decided to go to the bookstore, and it's a used bookstore. It takes donations, so the most expensive is $4 or $5. So I still don't spend that much money. It's not like when I go to Books A Million. And I ended up buying another classic. It's not Victorian literature, but it is some Tolstoy. So I've only read a little bit of him so far. I started War and Peace, which probably was not the best book to start with because it's such a long book. But so far it's not that hard to read. His work is just a very long book. I really liked Crime and Punishment. I'm nervous that I won't like some of the other guys. Dostoevsky, who wrote Crime and Punishment. I'm worried that I won't like, because like I bought, like last year I had bought not Brothers Karamazov, but the Notes from the Underground, but then I realized looking at reviews and stuff, apparently it's Stream of Consciousness. I'm worried that I won't like that as much because I don't like Virginia Woolf and I think that's the reason. Although I was okay. I mean, I did like Autumn by Ellie Smith, but then I realized after, when I started reading Winter, I was like, I don't like this anymore. So I have a weird up and down relationship with Stream of Consciousness. I'm worried that I wasted my money. I'm not going to like that one. Notes from the Underground, but I'm going to try it. And who knows, maybe the topic itself. But anyway, I got this, which I just watched someone last night who said they really liked these fancy bars. I think it was Taking Tea with Catherine, a booktuber that was recommended by Murphy Napier. But I think she was the one who said that she liked these Barnes & Noble Classics editions. They usually have some nice painting on the cover, and then they have this part. They always have, you can, it's hard to, I don't know, like a coloring on the edges. So I like them too, but I have a few of them. I have this is my third one, I think. And I think ever since joining BookTube, I've noticed all these different types of edition more and more. I mean, I knew classics in particular had different editions, but I never really looked at them until now. I started noticing each of the different types of editions and what they look like. I definitely pay more attention to the aesthetics of a book, which made me a little I wanted to get the hardback edition of The Clothmaker's Daughter by Kate Morton, and I actually saw it at the bookstore today, and I was like, dang it. But, at the same time, it's I already have the book, so there's no point in buying, just because it's a nicer cover, it's a pretty cover, and the image is really cool of the clock on the hardback. I don't need to go, buy another copy of it, although I guess what I could have done is sent that one back, donated that one to the bookstore and just replace it, but that would be kind of silly, I feel like, especially having not read it. So I want to read it, and I know my mom would not appreciate me having two copies of the same book. It's what's the point? I mean, they're physically different, but it's the same story. And no disrespect to people that like buying multiple copies of books, I understand, but I'm just thinking, I guess it's influenced by my mom that what's the point of having multiple copies of the same book? I mean, I understand, I do have multiple copies of collections of Jane Austen and Dickens, although I don't even have another copy. That's my only copy of Jane Austen. I have one that's not very easy to travel with, but I'm not a huge fan of her work. I like her stories, and I think it's kind of something you should at least try, especially in the classics area, And if you like romance and that, and history, then I think it's definitely something you should try too. And then I have the Dickens, which I like, and I think even more because I like his stories more, which is sad, which is kind of sad because it's back in the day, sometimes when I think back to the Bronte sisters and Jane Austen, sometimes I feel like a lot of people think that's their impression of how women writers work. Or today, the Stephanie Meyers. It's not the case. Women, you had women like Mary Shelley who wrote that great story about the guy and creating life. But anyway, and I just realized I never told you what this one is. I'm sure you can read the title, obviously. But the death of Ivan Illich, I think that's how you say it, Illich, and some other stories in this one. So I guess that one is not a long story. Okay, so this one has Family Happiness, of course, the title story, the Kurtzer Sonata, and Hajid Murad. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I wonder why the Kurtzer Sonata is translated by anonymously. Like, why does that person want to be anonymous? So I hope I like it. Like I said, I'm so far the little bit I've read of, and some of what I read of War and Peace is interesting. Like, that's the kind of war stories I like. Like, that's not just about being on the battlefield, which I will actually get more into that in a minute, because I want to talk to you about the what's going on with my library books. So I also ended up buying this Washington Black, and the saleswoman asked me if this was nonfiction, because she asked if I got it from the vault because that's where their nonfiction is. And I just realized they told her it was fantasy, but it's actually not. I think it's an adventure story. But yeah, she thought, because of the title, she thought it was nonfiction. It's Washington. But this was one that was nominated. This was a Man Booker Prize in 2008. It was shortlisted, so it almost won, but it didn't. It was not the winner. I don't remember what the winner was. I'll have to look that up. But I've been trying to check out a lot of, like, award-winning books. I mean, this is one of the good things about being on BookTube, is that there's a lot of good things about being on BookTube, but one of the perks is that you become more, although you can get stuck on watching the same booktubers talking about the same type of books over and over again, and that's something you can control. I mean, you don't have to watch the same booktubers over and over again. If you want to expand your horizons, just look instead of being so critical of BookTube, because BookTube has criticisms, and people, like, on Facebook, I feel like a lot of people's impression of BookTube is full of just YA readers only, and they only read, like, Sarah J. Maas, and, like, books like this, which, although I haven't read and I'm not, that are silly, and that are considered silly, and, like, it's like, no, there are a lot of booktubers, and I've been trying to do that in my Facebook group, although I've been lessening my time on Facebook because I just haven't been liking being on there lately. But if you actually take the time to look instead of assuming that's just YA, because yes, YA dominates BookTube, but you could easily if you don't like that, then solve the problem by actually putting yourself on BookTube and talking about other books besides YA fiction, besides, fantasy like Sarah J. Maas or something. I think, or Harry Potter or whatever. Although Harry Potter, everybody loves her. Most people love Harry Potter, so I don't think that gets a lot of criticism. Although it's a flawed series and people don't like what J.K. Rowling has been doing. All of a sudden, she's been saying things, trying to show that she is diverse, which is coming from a good place, but it's like she's trying too hard, and you almost have to wonder if all she really cares about is the money. But if that's your career, then, on the other hand, if writing books is your career, then of course you're gonna, it's just, you gotta, be patient. Either that or you do whatever you can to get yourself popular. Which actually, Terry and I were comparing J.K. Rowling and Stephen King and how she's more successful than he is. Although it depends on your definition of success. Like, she's making a lot more money than he is, and her stuff is constantly out there. While King, he's not constantly, he's writing a lot, but you don't constantly, it doesn't happen, on a everyday basis that his books get published into movies, and he has so many books. His books get turned into movies or TV shows or miniseries. He has so many that still haven't got turned into anything, and he's not as, and apparently J.K. Rowling is richer than he is. And now I do think lately he's become even more popular. I mean, maybe because I'm focusing more on him than ever, but I do feel like he has become more popular because of the whole, like, it has been made into, as they have made it into a movie again, which it was already a movie once before, but it was not a traditional movie, it was a mini-series, but it was like I define mini-series as, it's like, not as short as a movie, but it's not as long as a series, so it's like kind of a movie, and like a movie mixed with a series, if that makes any sense. Although you guys probably know what miniseries I had explained to Terry actually, but not so anyway. But I think because of how successful that turned, even though the movies there are some criticisms, especially for Chapter 2, it's not a perfect movie, but still it's getting him out there, and like more of his movies are being made into TV series. Now the TV's making into a TV series. Like they have Castle Rock, which it's not based on a book. But it's based on his world, his multiverse. And they tried to create Dark Tower, but that one wasn't as successful as the It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 movies. But I mean, I think that one, from what I hear, it kind of messed up because they were basically trying to cram the first 3 books into one movie, because I mean you don't know if it was going to be successful, and the irony of that is I feel like it wasn't really successful anyway, when they were trying to be careful, but then because they were cramming everything and bunching it together in one story, it was kind of ruined it. I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really say. I'm just going by what I have heard other people say. And it's also, and who knows, and I don't think that's the only reason. I think there were some criticisms on, like, Matthew McConaughey's performance. I don't know about our main guy, Idris Elba. I don't know how his performance was. I don't know if maybe people liked him, they just don't like Matthew McConaughey. He's the Man in Black. I don't know. I mean, a part of me was thinking, well, something different for him. He's not playing a bum, or a guy who is laid back and doesn't care, and is a smooth talker. He's actually playing someone that's more devious and ambitious and kind of scary. But anyway, back to this. So, like I said, the appeal of the bookstore does offer and give me, both BookTube and the bookstore give me a chance to check out books I would never have normally checked out. This is like an adventure story about this guy. I think he's British. I don't know if he's British or American. Actually, no, I think this takes place in America. And he's kind of like a Jules Verne type. And he's a world traveler, and he takes his slave, Washington Black, with him on an adventure. But he's still, a slave, and I imagine that comes into play in the story, the fact that he's a slave, a black slave, and this guy's a white man who doesn't entirely understand what hardships this kid is going through, how hard it is for him being a black man, young black man. And he's still this guy's slave. Yeah, they have a friendship that builds, but at the same time, there's still a what's the word? Division between the two of them. But I cannot wait to read this, and I like this cover. I really like the cover, like the gold, and it definitely looks like an older book, with the cover and everything, like an old-fashioned adventure story, like Jules Verne. That's the first thing I think of when I think of this book, Jules Verne. Although I've never really read any of his books. I would like to try his books, but I don't know if I would ever. I wonder if I would ever be bored, because I end up being bored with Treasure Island, which is not a Jules Verne book, but it's kind of the same idea, like an adventure story. Something I would think is really cool, because Pirates of the Caribbean, it's pirates, but it's just because it's an older book and the way it was told, it was kind of boring. But anyway, so I got these 2 books. Now on to what's going on in my library books. Okay, I've already showed you the ones I got. The Nightingale, the Power, and and Vox, and then I also I'll talk about those 2 in a minute. But I also got The Fort by Bernard Cornwell, and I think he's one of the more popular commercial authors. Has a lot of books set in historical fiction novels. And he's also one of those authors who writes like series and stuff that I feel like you could potentially get away with not reading them in order, but there's an ongoing connection probably. I don't know. I could be wrong. I mean, I haven't really looked. I'm just assuming because a lot of authors like this, I feel like they do that with their series. Like, there might be some things, little things here and there that might connect all the books in the series and be like, well, maybe just in case you shouldn't read them in order. But anyway, so because it's the American Revolution, I do like history, and I really want to read more books that are historical, set during the American Revolution. And yes, I'm one of those people that it was because of Hamilton, partly. Although I haven't seen the actual show, I've just listened to I have the soundtrack on my iPod, which I'm not going to be able to, I don't think I'm going to be able to bring with me to Florida, unless I bring this, my laptop. Because I don't know, I mean, I'm sure there's got to be a way to charge it. And I don't know about the headphones. I don't know if, I guess the way I automatically plug it into my phone. So actually no, I have a wall charger. It's the headphones I'm worried about. Like about charging them stuff. Although I guess maybe if I plug them, I don't know. I'll figure it out. But anyway, so I started reading this. I'm on chapter 3, and it's only 14 chapters. But again, it's a situation where there's less chapters, but they're very long chapters. But I think I like the end of this book. Because I like history and the revolution and all that kind of stuff. And yes, I'm one of those people who's interested in Hamilton. But, I mean, with Hamilton, it's a musical. So it's going to be more exciting and interesting the way it's told, and it's not going to be like the length of a novel. It's like going to be a 2-hour play, 2-hour performance of a bunch of people singing, expressing their feelings through music and through dance and song and stuff. And this is basically just reading the words. I don't like not reading military books. I might be interested in watching military, but military story, historical military, not today's military. Not today's story, like actually, this is not military, but Terry went to go see Rambo, and I was just thinking that, I mean, this, I get that for some people the story's really cool and stuff, and I know it was like a family thing, so, her brother and sister picked the movie, so she went with them, and she liked it. But I was just thinking, not a movie for me. I don't care. I don't care about Rambo. I was never interested in Rambo. I will never see Rambo. Unless my dad decides to be like, well, you made me go see chapter 2 of it, so you're gonna come see this movie. The good news is my dad is not that type of person. He will just get it from if he's interested in Rambo, First Blood, or whatever the movie's called, he will get it from Redbox. He's not gonna spend money. I'm more prone to spend money at the movies than he is. Which, really, I should be the one that's saving the money. But anyway, I was thinking about that because it's not military, but it's about this, but there's a lot of the elements that are in military novels and battlefield stories. Like the same elements. And I don't really care. I don't care about seeing people get shot and blown. I mean, I liked movies like Tropic Thunder because it was a comedy and I liked the actors in it, so I was willing to give that a shot. And I ended up liking it, but it was partly because it was not a serious war movie. It was a comedy, and they were making fun of the lengths people go to make a movie. So it wasn't a war movie. It wasn't about war. It was these guys making a war movie. So I think that really helped. Why I ended up liking that one. But this is just, and I almost feel a little, I'm trying to be objective, but I almost feel a little bothered by the fact that Paul, of course, I don't know anything about Paul Revere. Maybe he was a total ass. But I have heard from Jennifer Brooks that, she talked about Paul Revere. I need to watch her video on Paul Revere. But, This is a failed thing that he did. I mean, unfortunately, he's mostly known for the Midnight Ride situation, but this is something that he was in charge of that it failed. And I'm not saying, that's probably true. It's just, I feel like there's almost like Bernard Cornwell, they said he was British, so he has a little bit of a biased opinion and has trouble being objective. So part of me was a little like, there's a small voice in my head that was a little concerned, but I was feeling a little indignant about that. But at the same time, I feel like, can I really do that? Because I don't know a lot about Paul Revere, and I don't know a lot about what happened. I know a little bit, bits and pieces. That's why I wanted to watch Washington Spies, which I need to get back into that. And I need to continue with that show and give it another shot. It's just one of those shows that's like, it's hard when I love historical fiction, but at the same time, it's not fantasy. So sometimes it's hard to get in. It takes me a bit to get into it. But when I'm watching it, I'm into it. Although I made the mistake of multitasking and doing booktube stuff while I was watching the show. But basically, I think I'm going to DNF it. It's just kind of boring. It's boring to me. I don't care about the military stuff because the military battlefield stuff is boring. So I think I might DNF it. Okay, so other than that, I haven't looked at my other, except for I did read a little bit of Longbourn last night. I got to the first chapter of Longbourn, and again, it makes me think of Downton Abbey a little bit, but in a Jane Austen novel. Well, no, it's not a Jane Austen novel, obviously, but it uses a Jane Austen novel as the setting. And we're basically getting the perspective of the servants. And a lot of times when I was reading it, I was using some of the characters in Downton Abbey. Actually, I was picturing those actresses as these characters. Like, what's her name? Sophie McShera, who plays Daisy on Downton Abbey, I was picturing her in this, and I was picturing also, what's her name? She left at the end of season 1. She was the girl. She played Ygritte, and she's married to Kit Harington. I can't think of her name. Redhead. Well, that actress is who I was picturing for the other character of Polly, the other maid. But we basically get mostly from the perspective of the main girl, the main maid, main servant girl, Sarah. And she's talking about, in the first chapter, she talks about going about her days and what she has to do and how stressful her job is, and just to clean the Bennett sisters' clothes, and she runs into Molly at one point, Mary, and and we find out that Polly was originally, her actual name was Mary, but because they didn't want to mix up to their daughter, so she had to change her name to Polly, which that's very interesting. It's like, so basically a servant has to change her name if she happens to have the same name as the people she's working for. That was very interesting to me. A little unfair. It's like something as small as that. And they're rarely going to be in the room together, so I don't know why she'd change her name. Unless Mary herself was like, I want you to change your name. I always forget if Mary is the one that was the Bennett sister that was like, spoiled and selfish and wanted to marry, wanted to get married to, a soldier and all that. I can't remember, or if she was the bookworm. Because I know there was the one sister who was kind of the bookworm, and there wasn't a lot known about her. There was the one sister who was kind of a brat and ran away, and she ends up running away. She gets her wish, runs away with the soldier. So I only got to chapter 1 because I was falling asleep. I only got through chapter 1, so. But chapter 2 is only a couple pages, and then so is chapter 3, I think. Yep, chapter 3 is only a couple pages. I mean, and then I think chapter 4 is not that many pages either. Well, oh, okay, chapter 4 is a little bit longer. Chapter 5 is longer. But the fact that I think I'm gonna DNF the fort, yeah, chapter 4 is a little longer. That will help. A little bit will help. Well, then I can focus on this one. I don't have to worry about the fort, and I can just take it back. And as soon as we get back from, I'll have to look it up. Actually, I have to look that up. I gotta find out when we get back from Virginia, because these are due back on the 2nd. And I'll have to make sure I'm back before then, and that I'm not working. So I'm in trouble, and I have like I might have to go ahead and exchange them right before we leave. I might have to do that real quick. Because I want to recheck these. I will want to read them and recheck them out and stuff. And so I will need to actually physically go there. Although I guess I can call them. I've never called them before. I can probably call them. And what I might have to do is put the fort in the slot. But I will figure it out. Hopefully I don't have to call them because I don't like having to call. Like, I have this weird thing about doing stuff like that on the phone. It's one thing with talking to my friends on the phone, but having to do an adult thing via the phone, like make an appointment or something, or doing the adult thing, the grown-up thing, I feel very weird about that and uncomfortable with that, although I need to get over that, so, probably, so, anyway, I said I don't have a lot to say about this one because I only read one chapter. Okay, and then I also ended up bringing with me, I haven't started the other 3, the Nightingale, although I saw the Nightingale at the bookstore, and for a second I thought maybe I should just buy it. But that was also hardback, and hardback, yeah, it's cheap, but it's still, more expensive than paperbacks. And then there's the Power and the box. So, but I did bring. Oh, the only other book I started reading was book 2 of Middlemarch, where we are with. Book 2 focuses on this one particular family. There's the priest Bulstrode, and his brother-in-law is trying to help him with his son. Because his son is his son Fred was supposedly told that this rich guy that was going to give him money. I guess he's his companion or whatever was going to give him money, but he had there were people saying things bad about him, like he's greedy and he's stolen from him. So he asked his brother-in-law Bulstrode to write to this guy and saying no, my nephew has never done anything like that, blah blah blah. And Bulstrode first is a little reluctant to do it, but then Mr. Vinci, the kid's father, his brother-in-law, is gets mad at him about it. Is you should, and then he's well, fine, okay, fine. Why don't you go see what your wife, my sister, thinks. And I guess we don't get the discussion between the two of them, but we find out, basically he is persuaded by his wife to go ahead and write the note to the older guy. But then surprise, the old guy's oh really? You think I was gonna give you inheritance and give you my farm? It's I don't think so. And he gives him a little bit of money, but it's not a lot. It's probably the length of the same amount as my paycheck, for instance. But anyway, and then we just had a scene between one of the old guy's maids. Fred likes her, and she's kind of scared of her boss, and she also does not like how these guys that come to see her boss kind of flirt with her and express that they like her, because she doesn't want every interaction and friendship with a man to be romantic, to automatically for him to be I love you, will you marry me, kind of response. Which, if I'm interpreting this right, poor Fred, he likes her and she would never like him back. Yeah, I think I'm right because I think he does it. He asks her, "Would you marry me?" And she's like, "Nope, I like you and everything, but I don't want to marry you." And she says partly because the fact that he's not wealthy, he's not very well off, financially insecure. He's not very financially secure. Her father would never approve of the match. So she, basically she tells him straight up, which was very important back in the day. It's not as important now. I mean, I don't know how it is in England today. I assume that's how it is. That money is not that big of a deal. So yeah, I like it's not as exciting as it's more like it's like a political intrigue type story. Or has that same vibe. Where it's not the most thrilling, but I feel like it doesn't necessarily appeal to everybody. I like the writing though. But my only thing is I'm gonna bring this one to Virginia. The problem is that on the way down there, I'm gonna have to deal with like half of the trip is gonna consist of having to listen to misjudgmental Dr. Laura, this condescending judgmental Dr. Laura, and I don't have an option because it's not my car. I'm not the driver. I can't pick what we're gonna listen to. But it's like, yeah, my mom and dad will say the headphones, but I am like inches from the front. I'm just sitting in the back, so I can still hear it. It's not like when I was saying in the park today. And yes, the whole what's it called? I can't think of what they're called. Those not I can't think of what they're called. The place where they market, the food market or whatever. That's what I was looking for, the word market. They were closing up, so there were still people there talking and stuff, so it was a little distracting, but it was like far away, so it wasn't like directly in my ear. So even if I'm having headphones, because the radio, I'm inches from it, so I can still hear it. It's still very loud. I can't entirely tune out. And of course I'm not going to listen to music while I'm reading, because then that distracts me too. So it's like, unfortunately I don't have an option. And my mom apparently, she can't travel to Virginia without having to listen to talk radio unless she listens to talk radio, because that makes it easier, because apparently the strong feelings that she gets while listening to this woman, whether it's positive or negative, it helps her, keeps her awake, and it just drives me crazy, because it's like, why don't you just listen to music or something? Or at least like a book, for instance, where the mean people are just fictional characters. But I am thinking about one day suggesting to her that, like, at least maybe as a Christmas gift, if I don't get it for this trip, for these trips, that maybe when we're going to Virginia and South Carolina, maybe and I put them on my wish list before, but though, these books are expensive. And I'm talking about audiobooks, they're not cheap. Although, yeah, I know, I could just borrow them from my library. My library is small, remember, so I don't, granted, I haven't looked. But I know it's small, so there's no guarantee. And I've not seen any audiobooks at my bookstore today, or DVDs for that matter. But I'm thinking I could listen to audiobooks, so I'm still reading, but I can tune out the radio. But, there's no way in the next couple days I can get an audiobook in time for this trip, so. Unless, I guess, you know what I could do? I could just do the 5th Harry Potter book. I could bring that, but then it's like, no, it's not the other books. I only have the 5th one, so there's, like, no point. Because then I can't go into the 4th book. What I would love if I had the last book on audiobook. Anyway, so I read a little bit of this. I was going to read this, too, as well, since it's the next Stephen King book I'm thinking about reading. Although, I keep thinking about restarting the book It and just starting from the beginning, because there's so many things in the books. Like, all these little details and history of the town of Derry that I miss. I ended up not getting it. I mean, I remember the whole Adrian Mellon thing, because that's a pretty big incident in the story, and I remember bits and pieces, but I feel like I'm missing out just the way I read the book. I space out my reading. Okay, so in like books like Rose Madder and Pet Cemetery, which I still gotta do my review for that one, but now I gotta eat my lunch, so I might not do that. I might do it tonight. I don't know. I might like eat my lunch, watch some booktube videos, and then after I eat my lunch, I'll start. Although, oh yeah, crap, it's 3:20. So, but anyway, so that's what's going on with my reading. How is your reading going? Would love to know in the comment section below. And if you feel so inclined and like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you're enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye!